The big ship floated in space like a silver bubble. Inside, strange beings from different worlds sat around a round table. This was the day everyone had waited for. The first real meeting between humans and aliens. Ambassador Taman walked into the meeting room. He wore his best blue suit and carried a small bag. Behind him walked his 8-year-old daughter, HFY. She had pigtails and wore a yellow dress with star patterns. She looked around with big, curious eyes. The aliens stared at the little girl. They had never seen a human child before. "Why did you bring a young one?" asked Zilthik. "He was made of purple," Crystalend spoke with a voice like breaking glass. His people, the Velthari, were very tall and sparkled in the light. "Children are part of our world," Taman said. "If you want to know humans, you must meet all of us." Across the table sat Klaxon, who looked like a giant ant with 4 arms. His people, the Keth, lived in groups and shared thoughts. Next to him was Bluewave, who looked like a blue frog but much bigger. Her people, the Naylor, lived in waterworlds. At the end of the table floated Brightsong, who was made of pure light. The Fothari had no solid bodies at all. "This is unusual," Klaxon clicked his mandibles. "Young ones should stay safe at home. Young ones are not smart enough for important talks," Bluewave croaked. HFY tilted her head. "I'm smart," she said. "I can read, and I know all my numbers." "Want to see?" The aliens looked at each other. This small human was speaking to them directly. Most alien children could not even think properly until they were much older. "Fascinating," whispered Brightsong, in a voice like wind chimes. The meeting began. The adults talked about trade routes and peace treaties. They spoke about sharing knowledge and building friendship between the stars. HFY sat quietly for a while, drawing pictures on a tablet her father gave her. But sitting still was hard for an 8-year-old dad. "I'm bored," she whispered. "Can I explore?" "Stay close," Payman said, without looking up from his papers. "Don't touch anything important." HFY nodded and slipped out of her chair. The aliens watched her go, but said nothing. Human parenting was clearly very different from theirs. The ship was huge and full of corridors. HFY walked past windows that showed the stars outside. She saw rooms with strange machines and pools of glowing liquid. Everything was new and interesting. She heard a loud buzzing sound coming from ahead. It sounded like something was wrong. HFY followed the sound down a hallway marked with red symbols. She could not read the alien writing, but the symbols looked important. At the end of the hall, she found a room full of pipes and flashing lights. Zilthik was there, his crystal body shaking. Purple electricity jumped between his fingers as he worked on a control panel. Sparks flew from broken wires, a huge pipe. In the wall was glowing bright orange and making scary noises. "No, no, no," Zilthik cried. "The plasma conduit is failing. The whole ship will explode." HFY walked closer. The heat from the pipe felt like standing too close to a campfire, but she did not back away. "Are you okay, Mr. Crystal?" she asked. Zilthik spun around. His crystal eyes went wide. "Child, get away. This place is death. The plasma will kill us all." "What's plasma?" HFY asked, stepping closer to look at the glowing pipe. "Superheated gas that burns hotter than stars," Zilthik screamed. "One touch will turn you to ash. The containment is breaking. I cannot stop it." HFY studied the control panel. It looked like a video game to her, with buttons and screens and blinking lights. She could see that some of the lights were red when they should be green. "You just need to move the hot stuff somewhere else," she said. "What?" Zilthik's voice cracked like breaking ice. "Like when the bathtub gets too full, you open the drain." HFY pointed at the control panel. "See, the red lights show where it's stuck. You need to open these paths so the hot stuff can go around the broken part." She reached toward the controls. "Nitrogen monoxide." Zilthik lunged forward, but he was too late. Small fingers danced across the panel. She pressed buttons and moved sliders like she was playing a game. She did not know that touching the wrong control could release enough energy to destroy a city. She only saw a puzzle that needed solving. The orange glow in the pipe began to fade. The scary noises got quieter. Red lights turned green, one by one. There, Hay1 said with a smile. All fixed. Zilthik stared at the control panel. All the warning lights were green. The plasma readings were normal. The child had rerouted the entire power grid in less than 30 seconds. How did you know what to do? He whispered. It was easy, Hay1 said. Like a puzzle, the red parts showed what was broken. I just had to find another way for the energy to go. She looked at Zilthik's shaking crystal body. Are you scared? Don't be scared. It's fixed now. Scared? Zilthik's voice was very quiet. Child, you just touched controls that could have vaporized this entire section of the ship. You walked into a room full of deadly radiation. You solved an engineering problem that I have been working on for 20 rotations. What's vaporized mean? Hay1 asked. Zilthik stared at her. This small human did not understand. She had no idea what she had just done. She did not know that she had walked into certain death and fixed it like it was a broken toy. Nothing, he said finally. It means nothing. Okay, Hay1 said brightly. I should go back now. Dad said not to be gone too long. She skipped out of the room, humming a little song. Zilthik stood alone among the now quiet machines. His crystal hands shook as he checked the readings again. Everything was perfect. The child had done in seconds what his best engineers could not do in days. Later, when the meeting ended, Zilthik approached the other delegates. The human child, he said quietly, she repaired a critical plasma failure. Impossible? Klaxon clicked. Young ones cannot understand such things. She walked into a radiation field that would kill most adults, Zilthik continued. She showed no fear, no hesitation. She treated deadly technology like a simple puzzle. Blue Wave croaked softly. You must be mistaken. I saw it with my own eyes, Zilthik insisted. This child did not understand danger. She did not know she should be afraid. The aliens looked at each other. Then they looked at Hay1, who was sitting on her father's lap, eating a cookie and watching the stars outside the big windows. Perhaps, Brightsong said slowly, we should learn more about human children. That night, as the diplomatic ship prepared to return to their home worlds, secret messages were sent across the galaxy. The messages all said the same thing: we need to study the humans more closely, especially their young ones. None of them knew that this was the beginning of the biggest change the galaxy had ever seen. All because a little girl named Hay1 did not understand that some things were supposed to be impossible. She just saw problems that needed fixing, and she fixed them. The galaxy would never be the same. 3 weeks after the first meeting, strange things began to happen across the galaxy. Secret messages traveled between alien worlds. Important people in dark rooms whispered about the human child problem. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. The big room was filled with worried aliens from many different worlds. We need to know more, said Elder Kristen, the oldest of the Velthiri. His purple crystal body was so old it had turned almost black. Zilthik's report troubles us deeply. One child cannot represent all humans, Klaxon buzzed. His ant-like head moved from side to side. Perhaps she was unusual. We must observe them, said Prime Blue Deep, of the Nailer. Watch their young ones in normal situations, see if they are all like this. And so the secret watching began. The first target was Dr. Talho, a human scientist who worked on Research Station Omega-7. He studied space rocks and did not know that aliens were watching him very carefully. The station floated near a gas giant. Spinning slowly in the colorful light, Bilho often brought his 10-year-old son Duhyon to work. The boy had messy black hair and always wore a backpack full of toys and snacks. He liked to explore while his father worked with numbers and computers. The Keth research team, led by Hivemind Klaxon, set up their secret tests. They had studied fear in many species for hundreds of years. They knew exactly what scared different kinds of beings. We will show the human child simulated dangers, Klaxon explained to his team. Every known species runs from these images. If humans are truly different, we will see it here. The first test happened on Tuesday. Du-Hyan was playing in the station's recreation room when the walls suddenly showed a holographic image. A massive creature appeared, something like a dragon, mixed with a shark, with teeth as long as swords and eyes like burning suns. It roared loud enough to shake the room. Most alien children would scream and run. Adult Keth would freeze in terror. Even brave Velthari warriors would step back from such a monster. Du-Hyan walked up to the hologram and tried to pet it. "Nice doggy," he said, reaching out his hand. "Are you lost? Do you want some crackers?" The Keth researchers watched in shock. Their instruments showed Du-Hyan's heart rate was normal. His fear chemicals were not active. He was not scared at all. He was curious. "Impossible," clicked Submind Veltar. "The creature simulation triggers every known fear response. Try the natural disaster program," Klaxon ordered. The room changed. Now Du-Hyan stood in the middle of a tornado. Wind howled around him. Lightning crashed down. The ground shook and cracked. Buildings fell everywhere. Du-Hyan looked around with interest. Then he started building a blanket fort using chairs and cushions. "This will keep everyone safe," he said to himself, working quickly. "The wind can't get in here." He even left a small opening, in case the tornado wants to come inside where it's warm. He explained to no one. The Keth could not believe what they were seeing. Du-Hyan was trying to help the disaster. He wanted to make the tornado more comfortable. "Try the mathematics test," Klaxon said desperately. The walls filled with equations that had driven Fothari scientists to madness. Numbers and symbols twisted in patterns that hurt to look at. These were math problems about infinity and spacetime that could break adult minds. Du-Hyan looked at the equations for a moment. Then he pulled out a crayon and started drawing dinosaurs in the empty spaces. While he drew, he hummed a little song and solved the math problems without even thinking about it. "The answer to this one is 42, he said, pointing at the hardest equation. "And this one needs more purple." He was right about the math. He was also right about the purple. It did make the wall look better. Klaxon sent an emergency message to the Galactic Council. Human children are not afraid of anything. They try to help things that want to kill them. They solve impossible problems while drawing pictures. We need more tests. The next day, Dr. Sunhee arrived at the station. She was a human engineer who worked with alien technology. With her came her twin daughters, Biora and Sojin. They were 6 and 7 years old, with bright smiles and matching pink backpacks. "Hope they'll be good," Sunhee told Bilho. "They love to explore." The Keth researchers were excited. Now they could watch 3 human children at once, but the twins found something the aliens had not planned for. A real emergency. It started in the station's waste disposal system. The big machines that cleaned dirty water and recycled air began to break down. Poisonous gases started to leak into the station's air supply. Red warning lights flashed everywhere. The adult aliens immediately began evacuation procedures. When Keth face poison, they flee to clean air. When Velthari detect toxins, they seal themselves in crystal shells. When Naylor sense contamination, they dive deep underwater. All the adults rushed to escape pods and emergency shelters. They followed millions of years of evolution that said, danger means run away. But Biora and Sojin heard the alarms and decided to help. "The air smells funny," Biora said to her sister. "Something's broken," Sojin agreed. "We should fix it." The twins followed the smell to the waste processing center. The room was filled with green gas that would make most beings very sick. Warning signs in 12 languages said deadly, do not enter. The girls could not read alien languages, so they went inside. They found the problem quickly. A big pipe had broken, and dirty water was spilling everywhere. The cleaning machines were trying to work, but they were getting clogged with trash. "It's like when our sink gets plugged at home," Biora said. "Dad always fixes it by going under the sink," Sojin added. The twins crawled into the maintenance tunnels under the machines. These tunnels were too small for adults, but perfect for children. They followed the pipes and wires, looking for the source of the problem. The Keth researchers watched through security cameras, frozen in horror. The human children were crawling through spaces filled with toxic gas and dangerous machinery. They should be dying. Instead, they were giggling and playing games. Found it, Biora called out. She had discovered that someone had accidentally dropped a wrench into the main recycling unit. The wrench was jamming the whole system. I can reach it, Sojin said. She squeezed through a gap that was barely big enough for her small body and pulled out the wrench immediately. The machines started working properly again. The green gas began to clear. The warning lights turned off. The twins crawled out of the tunnels, covered in dust, but smiling proudly. All fixed. They announced together. The adult aliens slowly came out of their hiding places. They stared at the two small humans who had just saved the entire station. The children had gone into deadly danger and treated it like a fun puzzle. Are you hurt? Sunhee asked, running to hug her daughters. Nope, Biora said. It was like playing in the tunnels at the playground. Except smellier, Sojin added. That night Klaxon sent another message to the Galactic Council. Human children do not understand the concept of danger. They approach deadly situations with curiosity and solve problems that paralyze trained adults. They seem to think everything is fixable. He paused, then added, they might be right. Across the galaxy, more secret watching programs began. Scientists and spies focused on human families, trying to understand these strange beings who did not know they should be afraid. But with each observation, the aliens became more nervous. Human children were not just brave, they were impossible. They did things that should not work, fixed things that should not be fixable, and smiled while doing things that would terrify warriors. The galaxy was beginning to realize that humans were not like other species. They were something new, something that did not fit the old rules, and their children were the most impossible of all. The watching would continue. But already, some aliens were asking a frightening question. If human children could do these things, now, what would they do when they grew up? The answer would change everything. Captain Lena stood on the bridge of the colony ship New Horizon, watching the stars through the big windows. Her ship was home to 5,000 humans traveling to a new world. It was like a floating city, with schools and parks and even a small lake. But lately, something strange was happening. The alien visitors who came to study human technology kept avoiding the family areas of the ship. Captain, said her first officer, Commander Park Woo, the Naylor delegation has requested different quarters. They say the current ones are, unsuitable. Lena frowned. What's wrong with level 7? It's our best guest section. Your daughter was helping the maintenance crew again, Park Woo said carefully. Lena sighed. Her daughter Yuri was 9 years old and loved to swim. The problem was, she also loved to help fix things. And, the New Horizon had many underwater sections that needed repairs. What did she do this time? Lena asked. She swam through the flooded engine intake to clear a blockage, Park Woo explained. The water pressure down there would crush most adult beings. The Naylor engineers were disturbed. Lena shook her head. To Rai, swimming through dangerous underwater tunnels was just fun. She did not understand that the pressure could squeeze a grown alien into jelly. I'll talk to her, Lena said. But she knew it would not help much. Rhea saw problems and wanted to fix them. That was just how human children were. Far away. On Diplomatic Station Alpha, the biggest meeting in galactic history was about to begin. Representatives from all major species had gathered to discuss trade agreements and peace treaties. The station was huge. With thousands of beings from different worlds, Ambassador Chang Ho had brought his 11-year-old son, Juwan. The boy had neat black hair and carried a tablet where he liked to draw spaceships. Chang Ho believed that children should see how different species worked together. The other human families were there too. Taemin brought Haewon, who was now 9, and even more curious than before. Dr. Bileho came with Duhaeon, still carrying his backpack full of toys. Sunhae arrived with twins, Bora and Sojin, who immediately started exploring the stations. Many levels. The alien delegations were nervous. They had all received reports about human children. The reports said the same thing. These small humans were impossible to predict and scary to watch. Keep the young ones away from critical systems, Elder Kristen warned the station crew. Human children ... help too much. The first day of meetings went well. Adults talked about mining rights and shipping routes while the human children played. Quietly in a special room, the aliens began to relax. Maybe the reports were exaggerated. That was when the gravity storm hit. Space is usually empty and peaceful. But sometimes dangerous things happen. A gravity storm is one of the worst invisible waves of force that can tear apart planets. This storm came without warning, like a hurricane made of twisted space. The first sign was a low humming sound that came from everywhere at once. Then the station began to shake. Coffee cups slid off tables. Picture frames fell from walls. Gravitational anomaly detected, shouted the station's computer voice. All beings evacuate to emergency pods. On the main screen, everyone could see. It is a huge rip in space itself, like a crack in reality. It was growing bigger, and it was pulling the station toward it. The adult aliens froze in terror. Every species in the galaxy had the same deepest fear. The fear of the void, of being pulled apart by forces too big to understand. It was written into their genes, burned into their souls by millions of years of evolution. The Velthari delegation turned to crystal statues, too scared to move. The Keth curled into balls and refused to think. The Naylor hid underwater, and the Fothari dimmed until they were barely visible. Even the human adults felt the fear. Changho stared at the growing rift with wide eyes. Taman held his breath. This was death itself, reaching out to grab them. But in the children's playroom, something different was happening. Juwon looked up from his drawing tablet. "Why is everyone screaming?" he asked. Haewon pressed her face against the window. "Look, space is broken." "That's so cool," Do-haeon said, pulling out a pair of toy binoculars. The twins, Biora and Sojin, ran to get a better view. "It looks like when you tear paper," Biora observed. "But bigger," Sojin added. Eora, who had been reading a book about ocean currents, suddenly had an idea. "It's like a whirlpool," she said. "But in space instead of water." The children were not afraid. They were fascinated. "We should help," Juwon said. The way he might suggest helping clean up toys. "How?" asked HAE-1. Ju-1 thought for a moment. He had been studying the station's layout for his drawings. He knew where all the important machines were. "The magnetic field generators," he said. "If we make them stronger, maybe they can push against the like magnets," Do-haeon said excitedly. "I love magnets." The children looked at each other. To them, this was not a cosmic horror that would destroy everything. It was just a really big problem that needed solving. "The grown-ups are too scared to help," Ruri pointed out. "So we have to do it." They left the playroom and ran through corridors filled with panicking aliens. Beings 3 times their size cowered in corners while the small humans raced past, heading for the engineering sections. The station shook harder. Lights flickered. The terrible rip in space grew bigger, and the pull grew stronger. In the main control room, the adult aliens could only watch in terror as their instruments showed the approaching disaster. The station's hull began to crack under the impossible forces, but in Engineering Bay 12, 9 human children worked together like they were building a blanket fort. "Juwon, you're good with computers," Haewon said, taking charge the way older kids do. "Can you make the magnetic fields point the right way?" "I think so," Juwon said, studying the control panel. To him, it looked like a video game. "Do-haeon, you and the twins crawl through the maintenance shafts," Haewon continued. "Some of the field generators are broken. You need to connect the backup power." "Got it," Do-haeon said cheerfully. The twins followed him into tunnels that adult engineers could never fit through. "Yuri, the coolant system is overheating. Can you swim through the water pipes and open the emergency valves?" Ruri nodded and dove into a pool of water that led to the station's cooling system. The water was freezing cold and under crushing pressure. But she had been swimming since she was 3. The children worked while the adult world fell apart around them. They crawled through collapsing tunnels, rewired systems as gravity went crazy, and coordinated their efforts like a team of veteran engineers. They did not know they were doing something impossible. They just saw a problem and worked together to fix it. Slowly, the station's magnetic field grew stronger. The invisible barrier pushed back against the space rift, fighting the cosmic forces that wanted to tear everything apart. "It's working," Juan called out, watching his computer screen. "The crack is getting smaller." The children cheered and worked harder. They rerouted power, adjusted field harmonics, and fine-tuned systems that had taken alien scientists decades to design. In the main control room, the adults watched in amazement as their instruments showed the impossible happening. The gravitational anomaly was shrinking. The station stopped shaking. The terrible pull began to weaken. The space rift collapsed in on itself and disappeared, leaving only normal, peaceful space. The children came back to the main area, dusty and tired but smiling. "Is everyone okay?" Haywan asked, looking at all the scared adults. The alien delegates stared at the small humans who had just saved everyone. These children had done something that the galaxy's best scientists said was impossible. They had pushed back against a force of nature using teamwork and determination. How? Elder Kristen's crystal voice was barely a whisper. "How did you know what to do?" "It was like a puzzle," Juan explained. "A really big puzzle, but we're good at puzzles." "Are there any snacks?" Duhayon asked hopefully. "Saving everyone made me hungry." The aliens looked at each other with a mixture of amazement and terror. These human children had just treated a cosmic disaster like a fun group project. They had no idea what they had accomplished. That night, as emergency crews repaired the station, secret messages flew across the galaxy. Every government, every military, every scientific organization received the same information. Human children had stopped a gravitational anomaly. They had done it by working together, staying calm, and treating the impossible as merely difficult. The messages all ended with the same question: what else might these children be capable of? The galaxy was beginning to understand that humans were not just different, they were something entirely new, and their children were leading the way into a future that no one could predict. The only thing everyone agreed on was that the universe would never be the same again. The emergency meeting room on Central Command Station was packed with the most important beings in the galaxy. Presidents, emperors, hive minds, and collective consciousness entities had all gathered for one purpose: to talk about human children. Elder Kristen stood at the center of the room, his ancient crystal body reflecting the worried faces around him. "We have a problem," he announced. "A big problem." Admiral Taewoo of the Human Space Defense Force sat at the back of the room, feeling very uncomfortable. He was the only human present, and everyone was staring at him like he had brought a dangerous animal to the meeting. "The incidents are spreading," continued Prime Bluedeep of the Nailer. Her blue amphibian skin had turned pale with worry. "Last week, a human child on Mining Station Beta 4 helped our deep core drilling operation. She increased efficiency by 400%. "How is that bad?" Admiral Taewoo asked. "She did it by riding the drill bit," Bluedeep croaked. 2 kilometers underground, through molten rock. She said it was like a fun elevator. Murmurs of concern rippled through the room. Hivemind Klaxon clicked his mandibles nervously. "On Farming World Gamma 12, twin human children improved our food production systems. They crawled inside the genetics processes while they were running." "That should have been impossible," said Brightsong, the Fothari energy being. "Those processes use radiation that would sterilize most organic life." "The children emerged unharmed," Klaxon continued. "They had somehow reprogrammed the entire system from the inside. Our crops now grow 3 times faster and tastes better." Admiral Taewoo shifted in his seat. "That sounds helpful." "Helpful." Elder Kristen's voice rang like breaking glass. "Admiral, Your children are improving our technology beyond our understanding. We do not know how or why their changes work. We cannot reproduce their methods. We cannot even study them safely. Another voice spoke up from the crowd. On transport, Hub Zatanine, a human child fixed our hyperspace navigation system. She said the computer was thinking too slow. Now our ships can travel twice as fast as before. The child was 7 years old, added another delegate. She cannot even read our language. Yet she rewrote code that took our best programmers 50 years to develop. Admiral Taewoo looked around the room at hundreds of worried alien faces. I think you're all overreacting. Children like to help. It's natural. Natural. Elder Kristen moved closer, his crystal body towering over the human. Admiral, let me explain what is natural. When a Velthari child encounters danger, they hide inside crystal shells and wait for adults. When a Keth larva faces a problem, they call for the hive mind's guidance. When a Naylor tadpole sees something broken, they swim away to find an adult. He paused, letting his words sink in. Your children see danger and walk toward it. They see broken things and fix them. They see impossible problems and solve them while humming songs. That's just how kids are, Taewoo said weakly. No, said Brightsong, dimming with worry. That is how human kids are, and it terrifies us. The room fell silent. Finally, a small voice spoke from the back. Maybe we should ask one. Everyone turned to see Dr. Minho, a human scientist who studied alien behavior. He had been sitting, quietly, taking notes. Ask one what? Elder Kristen demanded. Ask a human child, Minho said simply. If we want to understand them, why not talk to them directly? The aliens looked at each other uncertainly. Direct communication with human children was considered dangerous. Their unpredictable responses had caused several diplomatic incidents. Brought my daughter, Minho continued. She's 12, very smart. She's been waiting outside. Absolutely not, Kristen said, immediately. Human children in formal settings cause ... complications. What kind of complications? Admiral Taewoo asked. Klaxon answered reluctantly. The last time we held a scientific conference with a human child present, she corrected our mathematics. All of it. 300 years of quantum physics research had to be rewritten. She was 9, added Blue Dip, and she did it during snack time. Minho smiled. That sounds like Unesio. She loves math. Before anyone could stop him, Minho walked to the door and opened it. Unesio, could you come in here for a moment? A girl with short black hair and glasses walked into the room. She wore a simple blue dress and carried a notebook covered in colorful stickers. She looked around at all the alien beings with bright, curious eyes. Wow, she said. Are you all here for a meeting? That's so many different people. The room went completely silent. Hundreds of the galaxy's most powerful beings stared at one. 12-year-old human girl. EUN-SEO noticed a holographic display showing gravitational wave calculations. She walked over to look at it more closely. Oh, this is wrong, she said casually, pointing at the equations. You're using the old formulas. They don't work for curved space-time. She pulled a crayon from her pocket and started writing on the hologram. The equations changed as she worked, becoming more elegant and efficient. See if you adjust for quantum fluctuations and add a correction for dark matter interference. The whole thing simplifies, she explained, like she was talking. About her favorite cartoon show, Elder Kristen checked the mathematics frantically. The child was right. Again, she had solved problems that had puzzled the galaxy's best scientists for decades. How do you know this? He whispered. EUN-SEO shrugged. I read about it online. There was this really cool video about black holes. Did you know they're like cosmic vacuum cleaners? She looked around the room and noticed that everyone seemed upset. Are you all okay? She asked with genuine concern. You look worried. Is something wrong? Prime Blue Deep spoke in a shaky voice. Child, do you understand what you just did? I fixed your math, Unisio said. It had some mistakes. Mistakes make me feel sad, so I like to fix them. But how did you know it was wrong? Brightsong asked, his light flickering nervously. It felt wrong, Unicio explained. Like when you hear a song, and one note doesn't match. Math has to feel right, or it doesn't work properly. The alien stared at her. She was talking about advanced physics the way other children talked about their favorite games. Do human adults think the same way? Elder Kristen asked desperately. Sometimes, Unicio said, but grown-ups worry too much about being wrong. They spend lots of time checking and double-checking. Kids just know when something feels right. She walked over to another display showing a star map. Like this navigation chart, you're taking the long way to get places. See? She started redrawing the hyperspace routes, creating paths that no adult navigator had ever considered. If you go through this dimensional fold instead of around it, you can cut travel time by 60%, she said cheerfully. It's like taking a shortcut through the playground instead of walking all the way around. Admiral Taiwu watched in amazement as his daughter casually revolutionized galactic transportation, while explaining it in terms a kindergartner could understand. Unicio, he said gently, do you know that adults find these problems very difficult? She looked surprised. Really? But they're not that hard. You just have to think about them the right way. What is the right way? Elder Kristen asked. EU Unesio thought for a moment. Don't be scared of being wrong. Don't worry about what's supposed to be impossible. Just look at the problem and ask, what if? A lot. And if something doesn't work, try something else. She smiled brightly. Oh, and it helps if you imagine you're helping someone. Problems are easier when you're trying to help. The room remained silent as the implications sank in. Human children approached the universe's greatest challenges with curiosity instead of fear, creativity instead of caution, and helpfulness instead of self-preservation. One more question, Brightsong said quietly. What do you want to be when you grow up? Unicio's eyes lit up. I want to explore new planets and meet alien friends and help solve big problems together. Maybe I could help make spaceships that go really, really fast, or find ways to help everyone be friends. She paused, then added, and I want to have my own pet robot. That would be cool. After Unicio left with her father, the room remained quiet for a long time. Finally, Elder Kristen spoke. We need new protocols, new guidelines, new ways of thinking about everything. What kind of protocols? Admiral Taiwu asked. Protocols for coexisting with a species that sees the impossible as merely inconvenient, Kristen replied. Your children are going to change everything, Admiral. The question is, are we ready for it? Looking around the room at the hundreds of worried faces, Admiral Taiwu realized that the galaxy was not ready at all, but ready or not, the future was coming. And it was being led by human children who didn't understand why adults thought some things were impossible. The meeting ended with more questions than answers, but one thing was clear. The galaxy would never be the same. 6 months had passed since the big meeting about human children. The galaxy looked very different now. On every space station, every colony, every important building, there were new signs. They did not say danger or keep out. Instead, they said things like human child accessible emergency systems and curiosity-friendly zone. Ambassador Nari walked through the new Cultural Integration Center on Station Unity. She was in charge of the special places where human children could play with alien technology. These sessions had led to amazing discoveries that no one had expected. The Vel-3 crystal computers run 40% faster now, reported Dr. Kijun, her assistant, ever since 8-year-old Sung-woo showed them how to think in colors instead of just numbers. Nari nodded. Sang-woo had been trying to teach the crystal computers to paint pictures. Somehow, this had made them much better at solving problems. What about the Keth Hivemind project? She asked. Even better, Kijun smiled. The twins Manesio and Genesio figured out how to make the Hivemind network sing songs to share information faster. The Keth say their thoughts are clearer and happier now. This was the new reality. Human children did not just fix broken things, they made everything better in ways nobody had thought possible. In the Naylor section of the station, Captain Lena watched her daughter Yuri swimming with young Naylor engineers through the underwater cities. The fish-like aliens had built special areas where human children could safely explore their deep-sea technology. Yuri found another current optimization, reported engineer Bluesong, her blue skin bright with excitement. She says the water wants to flow in spirals, not straight lines. We redesigned the entire cooling system based on her suggestion. Ree swam up to them, water dripping from her hair. The fish told me, she said simply. Well, not really fish. But the water moves like fish swimming. It's more fun that way. The Naylor had learned that human children often saw patterns that adults missed. They called it intuitive engineering. And it had revolutionized their technology. But the biggest changes were happening in space itself. The Valkyrie had redesigned all their ships with what they called human-accessible emergency systems. These were special controls that only small hands could reach, placed in areas that only children would think to look. If there is a crisis, explained engineer Zilthik to a group of nervous captains, the most effective response team may be human children who do not understand why something cannot be fixed. The idea still scared many aliens, but they could not argue with the results. Ships with human families had the best safety records in the galaxy. The Keth had gone even further. They created curiosity protocols, special procedures for when human children wanted to explore their technology. We have learned not to say, "Do not touch," Hivemind Klaxon explained to his researchers. Human children touch things anyway. Better to make everything safe for touching and see what improvements they discover. Last week, 7-year-old Dayun had improved their quantum computers by teaching them to play games with numbers. The computers were now solving problems 3 times faster and seemed to enjoy their work. But the strangest changes happened with the Fothari energy beings. They had always been serious and formal, thinking deep thoughts about the universe. Then they met human children. The small humans taught us to dance our thoughts instead of just thinking them, Brightsong reported to the Galactic Council. Our consciousness is now more ... joyful. We see connections we missed before. Brightsong's light pulsed in happy colors as he spoke. The other Fothari delegates glowed with similar cheerful energy. Human children had somehow taught beings made of pure light how to have more fun. All of these changes led to the day that would be remembered forever in galactic history. Deep in the outer rim, explorers had found something that had puzzled the galaxy for 1,000 years. It was an ancient artifact from a species that had disappeared long ago. The massive structure floated in empty space, dark and silent. For centuries, every expedition to study the artifact had ended in disaster. Adult explorers who got too close reported seeing impossible things, twisted geometries that hurt to look at, sounds that drove listeners mad, visions of cosmic horror that broke their minds. The artifact was declared forbidden. No one was allowed within 100 kilometers of it. But when the diplomatic ship Peacebringer arrived for a routine survey, Ambassador Tamin had brought his daughter with him. Haywon was now 10 years old, still curious about everything. While the adults held their meetings far from the dangerous artifact, she wandered over to look at it through the ship's big windows. "Dad, what's that big thing?" she asked. "Something very old and very dangerous," Tamin replied without looking up from his papers. "Don't worry about it, sweetheart." But Haywon was already putting on her spacesuit. The ship had child-safe airlocks that let kids go outside to look at stars. As long as they stayed close to the ship, she floated through space toward the mysterious object, her small figure dwarfed by the massive structure. The adult aliens watched. Through their telescopes in growing horror. "Someone stop her," Elder Kristen shouted. That artifact has driven thousands of beings to madness, but it was too late. Haywon had reached the artifact's surface. She pressed her gloved hands against the strange metal and looked for a way inside. She found what looked like a door and pressed some buttons next to it. To everyone's amazement, the door opened. Haywon floated inside the ancient structure. For several minutes, nothing happened. The adults held their breath, expecting screams of terror or worse. Instead, They heard Haywan's voice over the radio, bright and cheerful. "Oh, it's not scary at all," she said. "It's beautiful." Suddenly, the entire artifact began to glow with warm, gentle light. Music filled the space around it, not the horrible sounds that had driven others mad, but a melody so beautiful that it made everyone who heard it smile. "It's just a really big music box," Haywan announced happily. "Someone forgot to wind it up." It was sad, because no one would visit it. The artifact pulsed with colors that painted the darkness in rainbow patterns. The music grew louder and more joyful, like a celebration that had been waiting 1,000 years to begin. "The beings who made this were happy people," Haywan continued. "Floating through chambers filled with art and poetry made of light. They left this here so other people could be happy too. But everyone was too scared to turn it on." She found the control center and pressed a large, friendly-looking button. The music changed to an even more beautiful song, and images appeared in the space around the artifact. Pictures of alien beings dancing, playing, and celebrating together. "They wanted to share their happiness with everyone," Haywan said, "but you have to not be scared to hear it properly." The adults floated in stunned silence as the artifact revealed its true purpose. It was not a weapon or a trap. It was a gift, a monument to joy and friendship from a species that wanted to share their happiness with the galaxy. But it could only be activated by someone who approached it without fear, without the weight of cosmic dread, without the assumption that ancient things must be dangerous. It needed someone like a human child. As the beautiful music played and the rainbow lights danced, the galaxy finally understood what human children really were. They were not just fearless problems, they were hope itself, walking around in small bodies with scraped knees and bright smiles. They saw wonder where others saw terror. They found friends where others found enemies. They turned on music boxes that had been silent for 1,000 years. The Galactic Council met one final time to make it official. Humanity was designated as the galaxy's problem solvers, not because they were the smartest or strongest species, but because their children could look at the impossible and ask, "But have you tried being nice to it?" The final scene took place back on Station Unity Prime. Haywan was teaching a group of young aliens how to play hide-and-seek in an asteroid field. The alien parents watched through radiation-shielded windows, their hearts filled with terror and wonder. "Is this safe?" asked a worried Velthari mother. "Probably not," admitted Ambassador Taman, watching his daughter float between space rocks the size of mountains, laughing with her alien friends. "Then why do you allow it?" asked the Keth parent. Tay-Min smiled as he watched the children turn a dangerous asteroid field into a playground, because they're not just playing games. They're showing us how to make the universe a kinder, braver, more wonderful place. In the asteroid field, Haywan called out to her friends, "Ready or not, here I come." Her voice carried across space, full of joy and fearless curiosity. The galaxy had learned to stop being afraid. Human children had taught them that the universe was not a dark, dangerous place to be survived. It was a playground to be explored. One impossible adventure at a time, and everywhere human children went, they left the same message. Don't be scared. Let's see what happens if we try to help. The galaxy would never be the same. And that was exactly how it should be.